Yeah, let me mention that. So, we will be recording and talk, but we will not be recording any of the sharing we do afterwards. So none of you will be recording.
Good afternoon, good evening. It is always a pleasure to be back at one of my spiritual communities, one of my spiritual homes, the Dallas Meditation Center. And I'm so grateful for the introduction and for the beautiful people in the room and on Zoom. I'm excited that I got to see Bobby for just a brief moment. This is really like my Dallas Meditation Center 10-year anniversary. I was thinking about this right before I came, that in 2012, August of 2012, I walked through those doors and was greeted by Brother Chi Sing and Bobby and Carnell. So what a gift it is to still be on the path a decade later. As we know, there are many twists and turns. Certainly the woman who walked through those doors 10 years ago, she's still in me, but she has definitely blossomed. And so I want to take a moment to acknowledge again, Brother Chi Sing. I also want to take the time to acknowledge Brother Thich Nhat Hanh, how grateful I am for their leadership. These are our ancestors, and what a gift they gave us by simply being themselves. And so may we, as we will all one day be ancestors, may people remember us fondly, because you know we're in Earth School and it's a day-by-day process. So I want to set my alarm because I like to talk, but I'm going to stick to my topic. And I also want to take okay, this is great. Now I can see y'all, because the whole time I gave that grand introduction, I'm just looking at myself. I'm like, that can't work. I don't want to just see me. Ooh, so let's take another deep breath in and blow it out. So I want to talk briefly about saying less and practicing sacred pause. And I want to read from the 4th mindfulness training, which is loving speech and deep listening, because this will be the guidepost. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifesting in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and to look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help myself and the other person transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Let's take another deep breath in and blow it out. So there is so much noise. Everyone has a phone, everyone has a camera, and it seems like everybody and their mama has an opinion about something. And as students on the path, we can set a wonderful example by modeling what it means to really not only think before we speak, but pause before we speak. There is a lot of division. You turn on the news, and I want to acknowledge the fact that there are some things that need to be said. Righteous anger is necessary at times, and we are being presented with some really, really significant challenges. And we need to, or I'll invite us to consider taking the time to really, really let things resonate, really let things land before we're quick to just respond. It can really save your life. Not just, I can't go there. I can go there, but I'm like, that would be a whole nother topic, because so many people are being consumed by anger. The anger within is being spewed outside, and there's a lot of harm that's being caused. And as we know, like the Buddha teaches us, and as Thich Nhat Hanh has spoken so eloquently about in his illustrious, mindfulness journey, people are sitting on hot coals. And so when we are faced with difficult situations, have you ever noticed that the words escape you? Wiggle your fingers if you've been so frustrated or just rendered speechless. In a way, that is a gift. Because there are some things that happen, there are some things that we see that if you don't give yourself the grace to take a breath, and if you don't give someone else the grace by taking a breath, things that could be considered small can grow really, really big. And at times, there's no way to come back from that. Or it may feel like there's no way to come back from that. So what do we do when all of these things are happening beyond our control? We're being shaken out of our comfort zones. Things that we thought we had a grasp on as a country, as a people, as a community, as beings on earth. A lot of things are being unraveled, tethered. And so I'm also raised in a Southern Black Baptist church, and where we often say, peace, be still. Peace, be still. And like with anything, we have to train our mind. This is a significant mind training, how not to react. And this is why we practice. This is why we come to Sangha. This is why we do the work on our own at homes, because it is a day-to-day practice, a minute-by-minute practice. And if we're honest, sometimes we just like to hear ourselves talk. And especially during COVID, oh my goodness, everyone is it's like microphones and camera, and I am on. And that serves its purpose for just a little while. But then we need to return to that Ooh, that quiet, that pause, because everything does not need to be said, even if you think you have all the answers. It may not be the right time. And as the fourth mindfulness training illustrates, especially when you are being met with anger or agitation, that is the best time to pause. I want to give the definition that a Buddhist teacher, Tara, stated. She defined sacred pause as a moment of limbo when you do not speak, achieve, resist, or run away, but simply watch. And clearly, there are multiple definitions of sacred pause. And I invite you to consider coming up with your own definition of what does sacred pause mean to you. And so as we nurture that muscle, as we strengthen that muscle of simply watching, I want to acknowledge the fact that it's not going to always be easy, because there are just some things that feel absolutely unacceptable, absolutely ridiculous, absolutely fill in the blank. But have you ever been so agitated and went to sleep and woke up the next morning after washing your face and brushing your teeth and taking a breath? I know I have. And what seemed like something that was weighing on me like a 1,000-pound boulder, when I gave myself the grace to pause, walk away from it for just a moment, I was able to return to it with fresh eyes, clearer eyes. My ears, I could hear things a little bit better. Sometimes, in some cases, things even smelled different when I gave myself the grace to not react in the moment and just allow time to come in and soften things. Now, what happens when we are faced with something directly and we need to deal with like direct action, and we don't always have the privilege of walking away and going and making some tea or coming to Sangha or sitting down and meditating or going to sleep? What happens when you're faced with a challenge or challenging situations and it feels like you need to respond immediately? Because that's very real. We're in Earth School. Things don't always play out perfectly. So what do you do in that moment? And I just want to offer, do nothing. Say nothing. Even if it's just for a minute or two. Watch what's happening. Even if it's a person in front of you. Can you imagine what happens if you're in a combative space and someone is talking and you're talking, and then you give yourself, you self-regulate and you pull back and you just watch. I have experienced that, and I can tell you it does something to the other person too. As you begin to regulate, Because one of the things that will help you say less is to listen more to what's happening within. Because when you are aware and mindful about what is going on internally, because you know we're having conversations with ourselves all the time. And you know that a lot of times people are talking out loud when they really, really should just be listening to themselves. And I'm going to say we often are talking out loud when we really should be listening to ourselves. And so we're given such a great opportunity every single day we are alive to check in with our heart, to check in with our womb, our stomach, to check in with our heads, to check in with our eyes, our ears, to check in with the little people who still reside in us, even though we're these grand, old, fantastic adults, we still have those children inside us that need someone to tend to them. We have internal flowers that need to be watered on a daily basis. And so if you find yourself being one of those people who really have trouble with pausing, really have trouble with not responding because of your lived experience, the ways you've been socialized, a time such as this where there's such an urgency to do and say a lot, I invite you to return to your breath. That's the quickest way. Focus on your breath. I want you to take a moment to just observe where you are in this moment. How are these words landing? What sensations came up or what sensations are coming up? Observe if there's any tension that crept in out the blue and just breathe through it. I'm so honored that you're watching and listening to me. And now I want you to watch the thinker within. What's going through your mind? So I was reminded of the quote, is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? I don't want to misquote it, but I remember reading, like, before you think, before you speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And so I want you to really think about this week. What are the moments and where are the moments in your life where you can carve out a little more time to simply watch, to simply be quiet, to simply listen? And I will say that life is such a great teacher. Probably as soon as this Zoom is over, you're going to be met with an opportunity to put it in practice.
Oh, no.
Can I get a finger wave or that's right or something? Because you know, even when this is why I'm so grateful for this beautiful gift called life, because it gives us what we need. And so when we have those moments of like, okay, so just beware, you might be challenged. Return to your breath, return to your heart. And I also want to speak briefly about when you acquire knowledge, when you acquire a practice that can truly transform your life, like meditation, like, mindful living. I know there is a tendency to want to just tell the whole wide world, you want to run and shout to the mountaintop. I know a place called the Dallas Meditation Center that you need to come to, and this is the address, and this is the time. And that is wonderful. Our community needs to just continue to grow. And I want to also offer up that people will watch you. Your actions, if you're moving in the right direction, will speak louder than your words at times. And as you are taking the time to really pause, honor the sacredness of the now, being so quick not to respond, people are watching you. And sometimes you don't have to say anything. Let your actions be your calling card. Model peace to the best of your ability. Model loving kindness to the best of your ability. And my goodness, how many times have we said, will this person be quiet? Why are they talking? Be quiet. Model what it looks like to pause. Be quiet. As they say sometimes on Instagram, as the young folks say less, sis. Say less, brother. Say less, bro. Wow. I want to go over my notes to make sure I hit my points. In the last couple minutes or couple seconds, because it's about to ring, I want to share a story that made me smile. So yesterday, I facilitated some wellness work in the midst of a festival. And so I did a Brother Breathe, Sister Release workshop in Crenshaw in South LA. And so I had a group of folks sitting in the middle of this super loud outdoor festival meditating. And I told them, y'all are getting a crash course. How great is it that in the midst of a festival with drumming and singing and kids crying and screaming, what a gift to practice pausing, even in the midst of all of that noise. And I said, and if you could just take a moment and find some peace, even if it's just 5 seconds, hooray. And you should have seen their faces. Some of them began with a palm on their knee, face down, and with one up because they needed a little bit more support. I said, if you're feeling anxious, put your palm on your knee to ground yourself, or put both of them face down. And if you just want some extra support, place your palms face up on your knee. And I had 2 people afterwards said, I began feeling so anxious. And so I was gripping my knee, but by the end of the meditation, both of my palms were faced up. And so as we navigate this thing called life, sometimes It might feel like we're the only person being quiet. It might feel like we're the only person being, taking that moment to pause. But you're not. We're going to give thanks that there have been so many spiritual teachers who have done the work so that we can ease into this a little bit deeper and a little bit more comfortable. And as students on the path, teachers on the path, or just regular folks trying to embody what it means to practice peace, we're given so many wonderful opportunities. So I invite you to take a moment as I pause, as we collectively pause. Place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly. If at any moment you feel like it's too hard, it's too challenging, self-control feels a little far away, I want you to remember that you were once inside your mother's womb. And at times it was very quiet. So when we practice slowing down, when we practice thinking before we speak, when we practice catching ourselves before we react, and when we practice just simply observing, know that we are not just doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for our ancestors. We're doing this for the living, our comrades, our brothers and sisters on the path, whether they know it or not. And we are doing this for the babies that will come, the future. May our practice help them inherit a more peaceful, loving, fabulous, dynamic, inspiring, and nurturing world. Ashe, namaste. Thank you.
Amen, sister.
Hey! Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.